You pick up the handset. There's a tone. The machine is operable. Calling.
I'm tired.
Sounds like he hasn't talked to anyone in quite a while.
Writing. I hate writing so much. But I have to get back to it.
The man disappears with a sigh. You do not hear the customary disconnect tone, just silence in the handset. The machine is still waiting for you to dial a number. Seems like it did not have time to swallow the coin. This sometimes happens. Lucky you, the call went too fast for the payphone to register. You can still make a new one without paying. You close your eyes and feel your finger move on the rotary dial. You start with 005, as before, followed by 7 digits at random. The last one makes the silence turn into a ring. It's calling, still. Time keeps passing. In the distance, seagulls squawk. No one is home at this number. But the coin, it's still in there. You find yourself thinking, what were you trying to achieve by closing your eyes? Did you want your muscle memory to take over and call somewhere? Where? His own heart. It's really time to stop this now.
Go. Nice and easy. No way out, little guys. Not out of this jam.
There's a cylinder on the ground in which the man is arranging some netting. It looks like some kind of trap. He notices you.
Who's there? Oh, the police. Hello, officers.
Is that the police? Why are the police here?
Don't worry, Gary. I'll handle it. To what do I owe the pleasure? Of course. Thank you for passing along the message. That damn water lock is broken, and we can't go all the way around the AIN. Oh, good. We should really be getting back. Gary could use a hot shower and a warm bed.
Did he say we can go back now?
Yes, Gary! We can go soon! If you see Lena, tell her I won't be long.
Sir, your wife is waiting for you.
I just have to do one more round. See if the phasmid has taken the bait. Then we're going.
For all his passion, this man is diligent and patient. You could learn things from him.
Well, first of all, it's damn difficult to find, which is why we've been knee-deep in the reeds laying traps for it. Good question. Being a phasmid of the order Phantasmodea, a ghost insect, it disguises itself as plant matter. In this case, the reeds. Awful lot of reeds around, aren't there? And I suspect it may have also developed other specialised techniques to protect itself from predators or scientists in our present case. It's my hypothesis that it has evolved certain electrochemical defences that allow it to interfere with animal perception, impeding pattern recognition, confusing the visual cortex. But I cannot describe how these defences work, much less how they evolved, without studying a live specimen.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. You're beginning to suspect there's something paranatural about this phasmid.
I'm expecting it to be quite giant. One known species of phasmid, called the Megaphasmodeozoensis, is about the size of a grown man's forearm. So,
Seems puny, to be honest.
typical rookie assumption. Insects are much more sophisticated creatures than those unversed in zoology give them credit for. Even simply catching a glimpse of the Insulindian phasmid would be the apex of my, of any, cryptozoologist's career. But to study it and its defences, find out how it stayed hidden so long.
Would be glory itself.
Very little, I'm sorry to say. No one's ever captured a specimen, so all our information is based on first and third-hand accounts. Not yet. That's what makes it a cryptid.
Just out of curiosity, if there's no proof of its existence, how do you know it's real?
I know it's real. By which I mean, I've heard enough first-hand accounts to believe quite firmly that the Insulindian phasmid is more than mere superstition.
What would it be like to grasp and hold onto something you think is next to you, or just behind you, like a trace of vapor you exhaled one spring morning as a child? This is what he's searching for. A spectre.
Yes, the most recent sighting was by a couple of teenagers along the coast here. That's what brought us to Martinez specifically. It's the first credible sighting in several decades. Admittedly, it's an unusual location for this species, but with all the sewage runoff upstream, it probably doesn't matter much anymore. I have to resist the thought such an extraordinary creature is doubtlessly highly resilient. After all, it's generally thought to be capable of parthenogenesis. Yes, the females don't need males to reproduce. Makes it easier for a species to survive in adverse conditions. Yes, the Insulindian phasmid is a very clever insect. That's why it's so damn difficult to catch. But as a scientist, I'll try my best to remain dispassionate. Well, they may not look impressive, but Lena designed them quite cleverly, so I'm sure they'll do the trick. Yes. Simple. Attracted by the locusts, the phasmid crawls down the funnel and, having eaten its fill, can get back out. At least, that's the intention. The net isn't a perfect solution, but we didn't want to use anything that might damage the specimen's delicate exoskeleton. Locusts. Nearly all known phasmids are herbivores, of course, but we've hypothesized that the Insulindian phasmid might occasionally prey on other insects.
Inside the traps, a number of locusts crawl and tumble over one another in a tiny, chittering swarm. A meat-eating stick insect? Does it pretend to be the reeds as part of its ambush behavior? This seems unlikely.
They'll work, I assure you. The predatory hypothesis, using locusts as bait, accounts for the failure of previous efforts by other teams, which use plants. We have given this some thought. Yes. What? I've just always liked animals and puzzles. Searching for cryptids is a bit of both.
He seems reluctant to talk about himself, but he'll open up, if you prod a little.
Real. I know you think one is a respectable profession, while the other is superstition. Everyone does. Indeed, my methods do not differ from other scientists. I simply draw upon a wider variety of evidence. And I have more hope that something truly surprising might happen.
Your nerve endings tell you there is no such thing as a positive surprise.
No, as I said, I have yet to catch a cryptid, although I have come close. Close enough to keep trying.
Interesting. Something for later, this close call.
Everything from forgotten regional lore to newspaper accounts, like the one that brought us here, to look for the Phasmid. I keep a very open mind. It's not child's play, just because I have to traipse through the mud every so often. No, very few cryptids are ever discovered, and not for a lack of trying. To stay hidden is a cryptid's primary quality. It's even in the name, cryptid. Of the list of cryptids kept by the Cryptozoological Society of Chemney, which is 4,082 items long, about 2,000 have been confirmed as hoaxes. 2 are categorised as confirmed discoveries. The rest are in differing stages of discovery, refutation, and data collection. Yes, the Chateauquin forest pygmy, who turned out to be an extinct species of primate, and a cave salamander from Yugograd, who is, honestly, quite unremarkable. It's in a zoo somewhere. We cryptozoologists are brutally honest with ourselves, more so even than the public. With cryptids, most cryptids are hoaxes or they are never found. That does not mean we should stop searching. Indeed. If our expedition is successful, every paper in the world will report on it. From Revachol to Dushantu. It will be a zoological miracle.
The hair on your arms stand up. Electricity. Sounds like reeds hissing. He has clearly done his math on this. There is no surprising him or swaying his opinion.
Yes? All right. What cryptids precisely? I usually discuss these things with specialists, so I don't know what.
You need to ask him about specific cryptids. Cryptids you've heard about from Lena or his friend Gary. He won't just talk.
That's impressive, I guess. But have you seen it with your own eyes? I haven't had a chance to travel to Coco Nord. No. And I likely never will. The Samaskill desert region has been embroiled in a small civil war for the last 8 years. I fear this mindless barbarism may have wiped out the elusive creature entirely. Sightings of towering luminosities have grown rare recently, while they once used to be constant.
Yes, sightings of mirages are constant. A mirage is a constant phenomenon that people have no time to report when a war is going on.
A willow person. It's a long story. One non-specialist would find rather dull. They're not people, really. Some argue they aren't really animals, as they seem to have evolved directly from trees. They're very, very thin, almost flat in fact, and can camouflage themselves easily, wrapping themselves around trees and blending in with the tree bark. In that way, they're not too dissimilar from the phasmid we're looking for here. Gary and I painted an entire grove's worth of trees in slow-drying paints. It was a bright lavender colour. I was hoping one of the willow people would get paint on it and not be able to camouflage itself. After waiting in hiding for hours, I saw a figure slip from one of the trees, a lavender shadow dashing through the grove. I chased it with a net. Not very elegant. You can't be elegant in the field. And, well, it was faster than me.
A lavender shadow.
I know you think we were snacking on funny mushrooms. It's easier to mock someone than to admit that the world might be more interesting than you've imagined. Furthermore, I'm not saying it was a confirmed sighting. I'm painfully aware of what goes into verifying such things. There is a serious possibility that I saw a squirrel or a trick of the light. I am my own harshest critic. No offence, officer, but I'm not much of a pedagogue. I don't know what I would have done if Lena hadn't persuaded me to go back to field research. You should ask her if you want interesting stories. Me? I'm not a people person, unless you haven't noticed. And I don't make a good lecturer. My strength lies in field work and persistence. By all means. And I'm eager to return to her, I assure you. But I can't leave before we've finished with these traps. My wife understands that just as well as anyone.
Come on, Morale. We've been soaking out here for days. It's time to go back.
And leave the traps? Absolutely not. I won't let Lena down.
Come on, she wants us back. I'm soaked up to my nuts over here. We'll both catch reed crabs if we don't dry out soon.
Of course it's important to her. She's seen it. A verified sighting, on record. One of only 4 this century, and it's hers. Yes, that's how we first came to know one another, in fact. But that's her story to tell, not mine.
Needless to say, you must ask her about the mysterious phasmid.
Suffice to say, it's long been our dream to find proof of the Insulindian phasmid together. I can't abandon course now.
His spirit may be willing, but his body might be too old to endure the rigors of the coast.
Good. A good quality to have, both for a police officer and an experimental zoologist. I didn't expect you to take such an interest in our work here, officer. Yes, indeed. Both require a great deal of research, attention to detail, and, above all, persistence. There are 4 in total. One is to the south, on this little peninsula, by the boathouses there. It's very near. Another we set in Land's End, to the northeast. It's behind a small sand dune there, on your way to the old radio tower, after the church. The third is set near the canal, where you crossed, by a concrete slab, a big thicket of reeds going up the slope, and among them... You should check at least one of those before returning to this one, since I just said it. This one's more of a technicality, but still, better safe and stupid than sorry.
That seems like a lot. Do we really have time for this extracurricular venture? Even relative to examining a week-old corpse, I'm not sure mucking about in the reeds qualifies as fun. But have it your way, detective.
If you think it's important, you have been right before.
Bring it to me at once. Just make sure the trap is closed tight. That's highly unlikely, officer. But in the event you do, I'll spray you with a pheromone mixture I developed.
Did you hear that? Pheromones. You were right about the teenagers.
Oh, I doubt there is any connection there. Anyway, these pheromones will attract the insect to you, or at least prevent it from bolting at the sight of you. It's quite potent. Should last you about a week.
This is the smell of dying reeds, of longing crumbling into the water.
I hope you're not buying this. He dispenses it without letting you touch the canister, so it would be precious like holy water.
It is precious. A single dose cost me 50 real to develop. Not that I expect you to understand self-financing one's own research.
Right, which means you two can pack up and go back to the whirling.
Whatever he thinks about this detour, it's clear that these men are exhausted and in need of assistance.
Finally, someone's talking sense.
Thank you for your help. Gary and I will start breaking down camp. If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. We'll be gone once you get to it.
Hello, I'm Gary. Very generous of you to help us out, officer. Yellow man. Officer.
The lieutenant raises his eyebrows slightly and takes out his notebook. Yellow man. Interesting. This is something to ask him about, after a little probing first.
I'm just waiting for my friend Morel to finish up with his insect traps so we can return to civilization. I like nature, just not this bloody coast. It's mostly drunks and degenerates that come here. Oh, I've been tempted. But someone has to stay strong for Revocol.
Serious question time. This man is no innocent. No one is.
Oh, so that's what the RCM in Martinez is about. Great. Great to hear someone's finally taking care of that.
So you do know something about it?
No. Nothing. He was some kind of mercenary. But everyone here knows that. I'm just glad to hear you're looking into it. That's all. My mug? Why would you think that? I may have had a similar looking mug in the past. That's all. Okay, I admit it. I threw the mug away in the trash container behind the hostel. I know I shouldn't have, and I am very sorry, officer. You're not going to find me, are you?
Using a standard form, officer. It's 50 real. You're getting off easy. In return, we expect information. You have questions to answer, sir.
What did you do, Gary?
Nothing! Nothing. Just answering some questions. Helping out the law.
Here we go. Start pumping that sweet info.
I know a guy who works with the trash collection services. CS Municipal. He gave me a master key for the trash containers of Martinez. So I can use the Whirling's trash compactor to store my own stuff. Garbage disposal is expensive as hell. The damn Chimeans run it like a mob. I'm sorry, okay? I thought I could cut costs. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have disgraced myself.
Disgraced? No need for the histrionic, sir. It was, after all, just a trash container.
He studies his reaction. Gary doesn't answer.
Officer, please. Let me explain. It's not like that. I was only cleaning up. I live right across the yard from where he was hanged, and I saw him stripped naked. All the clothes lying around in the yard, smelling. People are animals, you know? Then I came out to clean up the rags because no one else would. I put them into the Whirling's trash, along with a broken mug, admittedly. Okay, I was coming to throw the mug away, and, well, I threw the mug there and the clothes too.
Right. It was just civic duty.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Civic duty.
As he shifts uncomfortably, a series of clicks, like the clinking of glass beads against one another as they roll across a hardwood floor. You've heard this sound before, but where?
What sound? I haven't the slightest. There's lots of weird stuff out here in the reeds, though. Insects, trash. Could be the wind shifting some garbage nearby.
Every day, the wind shifts the reeds and whatever was left in them. Tambourines and condom wrappers, plastic and glass bottles. The smell of decay.
What sound? Really? There's lots of weird stuff out here in the reeds, though.
Every day, the wind shifts the reeds and whatever was left.
Armor? No. I mean, yes. Of course. I know he was wearing armor, but I don't know anything about it. I hope I could help your investigation, in my small way.
Don't be so relieved yet, Gary. This bad cop may have been in your apartment, admiring your mug collection. Perhaps a little intimidation?
No. I help Morel with research sometimes, and I've learned some things along the way, but I don't usually go in for picnics like this on my own.
What does he do then? This feels like a good opportunity to dominate him.
Oh, this and that. Officer, I would never. I just didn't want to bore you with unnecessary detail. I work as a special courier. You know, urgent deliveries, overnight deliveries, deliveries to out-of-the-way locations. Oh, I don't know the contents, officer. Part of my job is discretion. Yes, officer? Not many Sealites here, or anywhere, other than Sale. I meant no offense, truly.
Do you remember how, when we met Measurehead and I said the next races will be a really good one? Well, this is that racist.
I don't know who that is, but all I meant was there are not many Sealites around here. Oh, yes, of course he is. I was just speaking about his connections. Let's change the subject, okay? Sure do, officer.
His eyes narrow slightly. He's wondering where this is going.
How? Mr. Clare unlocked my apartment? So you work for Everard Clare? Officer, please tell him we're good. No, tell him I'll make it up to him. What have I done? He'll send the muscle after me. What could it be about? I probably talked too loud. In the whirling. About some theories I had. Whatever it is, I'm done with it. I won't do it again. If there's anything I can do to assist you, or the Union, just ask, okay? I'll try to help if I can.
This scared him proper. He's positively melting from fear. Has to prop himself up with a lot of anger to keep it together.
The weather vane has turned. He cannot be unturned.
He clearly liked his squirming. He may even have changed his mind about the whole door opening operation.
Always a pleasure to see an officer of the law. I mean, officers.
That shirt looks very uncomfortable on him. Look at the buttons, barely keeping that thing together, as if something is ready to rip out from underneath. Yes, like a piece of ceramic armor, for example. One that makes a clicking sound when the plates meet each other, resembling pearls or marbles, stolen from the corpse in the yard near where he lives.
I knew you'd figure it out, officer. I'm sorry I didn't tell you at once. I was ashamed of what I did, and I didn't want you to know.
This shame is surprisingly sincere.
Gary, what's going on?
Later, Morale. I've got apologizing to do.
No, you've got explaining to do.
Everyone was picking those pieces off him, and I was watching them do it. And they'd scattered his clothes all over the yard. Everything was smelling. So I went there to take out the trash and started cleaning up. All those rags on the ground, him swinging up there, and I had a lapse of honor, sir. I thought, he's a foreigner. They all say he wasn't from here. Only the cuirass was left, so I stripped it off him. It was early in the morning. No one saw me. I took it with me. It was a mistake. Had I known it'd give you guys trouble, I wouldn't have... Fuck.
It's okay. It was a loose end, and you are tying it up now.
I'm so fucking sorry I called you Yellow Man. Seolite officers commanded the suzerain's navy. Most of them sided with the king when...
It's difficult to say what the lieutenant thinks of this historic apology. His face does not belie emotions.
I always thought it was the Union, but I sure as hell won't go around saying that anymore. You have my word. I don't know, and I won't be running my mouth on this subject anymore. Because I was weak. I should have told you the moment I saw you, but...
The hell, Gary? You in trouble?
I'll explain later.
He sighs again, hangs his head, and unbuttons his shirt fully. A cuirass that matches the dead man's boots comes into view. Soon it is in your hands, smelling of his sweat. This is it. This will protect your mortal shell. Don it and live.
Yes, absolutely. I will never do anything like this again. I won't mess with Mr. Clare either. You have my word.
That patch of reeds over there, it's a great place to hide something. Kind of out of the way, being so close to the water. Nothing. Just a hunch. The hunch passes, leaving you there, by the old boy bobbing in the water. Time to go. There's a trap in the reeds at your feet. Looks like the same one you saw Morel set before. Same mesh, same wiring. The reeds sway in the coastal breeze. They seem to be waiting for something. The wind picks up here, near the cape's end, surrounding the narrow strip of land from 3 cardinal directions. It's cold for this time of year. Locusts are crawling around in the trap, confused but uneaten. You see no carnivorous reed phasmid gorging on them.
Big surprise. Anyway, 1 down, 3 to go. No, you weren't.
Worn by elements, guards the depot. The wind has blown a sand dune. An old door, worn by elements, guards the depot. A familiar apparatus lies among the reeds, another one of Morel's traps, weighed down by stones to keep it in place. The reeds bend forlornly toward the sand. Some tufts have been crushed. Snow covers the broken stalks like a shroud. In the east, the city center hums to you. The constant, distant song, louder on this part of the coast, nearer somehow. And there's that cold again. This trap is also full of panicked locusts. No sign of any cryptozoological beast inside.
Another empty trap. Of course. Noted.
worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench do not look overly comforting.
We can sit on benches after we've solved the murder. Let's go.
You can revisit the bench.
This trap's not too hard to spot, once you know what to look for. Keeping it hidden has not been a priority for the cryptozoologist. Behind you, the ruins of a residential building loom over the reeds. They whisper amongst themselves. Confidentially, snowflakes cling to their shivering stems. When this district was booming, the reeds were kept at bay. Nothing obscured the freshly painted facades. Nowhere for drunks and adventurous teenagers to hide. Now only the wind blows. Nothing but locusts in this trap as well. Definitely no cryptozoological monstrosity.
Empty as all of them. One more of these and we're done. No, I'm fine. I didn't mean to complain, it's just... Yes?
A scattering of bullet holes is spread across the cracked wall, reaching from one corner to the other. This is the last of the traps. The one Morel just set. Checking it over, he said, is just a technicality. The reeds by the abandoned campsite sway and tremble while the snow falls all around. The later it gets, the colder. Remnants of the camp can still be seen in the sand. The fire that's gone out. You feel strange, somehow. The trap feels light and silent as you pick it up. Something is different here. No locust. No phasmid either, but still.
Well, the bait worked on something. This doesn't mean it was a reed monster, though. Unless you see one in there, I just see an empty trap.
The netting is a little untidy, messier than the others. Like someone or something picked the trap up and shook it before dropping it back down on the ground.
Perhaps our cryptozoologists have competition in the form of an actual entomologist, or someone else is sabotaging them. I could present more theories, but then I would be taking this on as a case, which I'm not. Okay, but after that we get back to our own assignments. There is no justification for this detour at this point of our investigation. We have a lot of work to do back in town.
Woman in an RCM patrol officer's uniform winces as she notices you.
I would really prefer not to talk to you right now.
As Lieutenant Kitsuragi explained, a patrol officer is the lowest rank in the RCM, below lieutenant and sergeant.
Yes, I am. I don't know. I mean, why would I want to talk to you? No, you're not. You're not the only cop in the world.
Something changes in her. It's pity. Pity comes over her.
Okay, fine. Let's talk. What did you want? What precinct?
Am from? God, he doesn't know.
Fucking deranged lunatic.
I don't know what to say.
Don't say anything, Judith. Me? No. I'm just a man with sunglasses. I like wearing sunglasses inside. Sunglasses and a fucking wig.
Okay,
I'm just looking out for...
you?
No one. I'm just a man with sunglasses. And you are?
I just want to do my job, that's all.
Boy, am I ever so grateful to you, officer. But I'm not the only one who wants to thank you.
Oh, sweetie, I don't even know how to thank you for finding my husband and helping him out. I hope we haven't been too much trouble for you.
I knew it.
I'm not surprised. It's already getting out of hand.
Well, in that case, sweetie, let me give you a small token of my gratitude. It's a tie, Mexican origin. The pin is an antique, quite special to the cryptozoological community.
The little silvery knob holding the tie together feels warm in your hand. It's in the shape of an avian skull with 8 eyes.
Oh, you don't want to hear about some old woman's ramblings.
Ramblings? Nonsense. Your description of the phasmid is the most precise I've ever heard.
But darling, I didn't even get the size of it right.
You were a child, my dear. Really. It's extraordinary what you were able to describe. Now go on. Tell our friend about it. He's proven his interest in the field.
Reflexively, the lieutenant read his familiar notebook.
Well, it was summer. I was building a racing track out of sand on the beach near a tall stand of reeds. Quite a tall one. Many times my height, I remember. When, all of a sudden, I looked up, and one of the reeds moved. Not like a plant, but like a living thing. It stood up and looked at me. Its body unfolded like some antique toy. I'd never seen anything like it. The reeds turned into a creature.
She had no fear, just surprise.
I didn't know this can happen, so I reached my arm and touched the thing. It felt just like a stalk of reed, but it moved, swaying, towering above me. After a while, 20 seconds, a minute maybe, it left, went into the reeds. I tried, but I was only a child. There was mud and high water. I couldn't see it anymore. I was just standing there knee-deep in mud, looking around me.
Where did you go? Don't go.
I ran back home to my grandmother and asked her if reeds could walk, and told her they were looking at me. Of course, she just laughed at me, but I knew what I'd seen. For years, it was a story I told at parties when I wanted to impress boys, that sort of thing. Of course, most people just took it as a strange, amusing anecdote. So did I, honestly. But then I met Morel.
We were on a date. Can you imagine? She tells me a story, and it's the most detailed report of the Insulindian phasmid I've ever heard. The sounds. She told me it hissed.
So that's how they met. This is beyond significant for them.
It did, yes. Like reeds in a gust of wind.
The way it moved, the colour, how some of its limbs were white, like marble. It matched perfectly with what I know from other accounts. It was amazing. If it weren't for Lena, I might have given up hope years ago. It's no exaggeration to say that she restored my faith in my profession.
Our first, yes.
Not all of them. There is some white coloration reported, along with beige, where the camouflage ends.
It's hard to say how big things are when you're quite small yourself. To me, it seemed to be taller than I was then, but that's probably not the case. You're welcome, sweetie. I do appreciate the chance to relive it whenever I get one. It was just such an impossibly sunshiny day. So warm.
And she could get up and walk right into the reeds on her own, into the mud, anywhere.
You know, to hell with it. Let's have more cryptids.
Of course, officers. Is there a particular cryptid you two are interested in learning about? No. It's the cryptid. Oh, yes. The eight-eyed teratorn, the largest flying avian ever discovered, with a wingspan of 11.5 meters. It was thought to have gone extinct 3,500 years ago. Some even doubted the fossils were real. A mutation, they said. Until...
Mutation? All of evolution is a mutation.
Until it was sighted by renowned Gotvaldian explorer and naturalist Uwe Plattenkalk in 21. It happened on a botanical expedition into the vast and unexplored Oambrau Canyon in southeast Ilmara. Dr. Plattenkalk got separated from his group during a sandstorm. The world's largest canyon system, sweetie. It's a barren waste east of the Erg Desert, an ancient riverbed completely dried up. Alone in the blasted desert heat, the doctor wandered eastward, where man hasn't stepped foot in over 1,000 years, since the fall of Pericarnassus. He was lost, without any navigation equipment and desperately low on water. After a day or two, he noticed a bird high in the noon sky. A great black bird, it seemed gargantuan. Every now and then, the bird would dive down to feed on an animal carcass somewhere on the horizon. But by the time Uwe got there, the teratorn had taken off already, and the carcass was picked clean. This happened many times.
Eat the bird. Uwe. It's the only way to survive.
More like he followed it. A bird that big has many liters of blood in it, and he was dying of thirst. For many days, Dr. Plattenkalk followed the teratorn until they reached a great canyon wall, where the bird finally landed to rest. The professor climbed up there with a rock in his hand. He found the bird sleeping with his head tucked under its wing, a great black pile of feathers on the perch. So he approached, slowly squeezing the rock in his fist. Then the teratorn suddenly looked at him. He could see it had 8 eyes, 4 on either side of its skull, like a spider. And the man couldn't move. He was paralyzed, frozen into place with the rock in his hand. Whatever he did, he could not get closer to the bird. The bird was controlling his mind. It kept him from approaching. He could step back, but every time he stepped forward, paralysis. Uwe spent 3 days trying until the bird flew away. The 8-eyed teratorn was indifferent to him as long as he didn't get closer than 2 steps. It even let him feed on some carcasses up there. and the 2 unfertilized eggs it left behind. Absolutely, sweetie. Cryptozoologists have been tracing it ever since, but Wamrao is vast, mysterious, and holds many secrets.
Modern radar telemetry shows great promise. We will confirm this one by the end of the decade, latest.
This one I liked. Not only does it have 8 eyes, and is a living fossil, and the largest bird ever to live, it also does mind control.
Sadly, yes, but there are numerous reports of 8-eyed bird skulls from Il Mara. And then there's the striking resemblance to the Pericarnassian imperial eagle, an ancient heraldic symbol that is hard to pass off as coincidence. The imperial eagle, too, had 8 eyes.
Very, very hard.
This one's very famous. Everyone knows it. People be looking at that tie on you and thinking, that man is into cryptids. So, what else do you want to know? Cryobacter catlensis. Yes, a unicellular bacterium that was discovered in one of the northernmost points of Kotla on the Boreal Plateau by renowned geologist Caitlin Mijanou some 70 years ago. The bacterial colony Mijanou found had remained alive while frozen in ice for longer than anyone could reliably estimate, certainly from before recorded history. Mijanou disappeared shortly after injecting herself with the bacteria she had brought back to study, no doubt in hopes of prolonging her own life. Yes, the bacteria had survived in the ice since times immemorial. It is not hard to see where she could have gotten the idea.
It's actually a little hard to see, but do go on.
Yes, and she's quite mad, too. After she treated herself with the bacteria, she stopped aging, but also became increasingly eccentric and irascible, so that even her oldest friends were forced to pull away. We can assume that she has been living somewhere in the wilderness for decades now, all alone except for the Cryobacter catlensis coursing through her bloodstream. Yes, it's the kind green ape, half war story, half undiscovered species in the genus Homo. Yes, it was reported by soldiers in South Safra during the war. The kind green ape would visit bunkers during the night, healing wounded soldiers with its saliva. Yes, it has amazing healing qualities. Some soldiers reported growing back limbs, regaining their sight. Indeed, there is. It's our closest relative among the cryptids. Same taxonomic family, different genus. Which is to say, the kind green ape is a species with which we share a common ancestor and that evolved parallel to our own, just like your partners.
Ma'am, you are confusing him.
Please don't misunderstand me, either of you. Human, as it is used in everyday speech, is hardly a taxonomic category. For all intents and purposes, you can be thought of as human. Though Sahellites do have some distinguishing characteristics, different advantages, if you will.
Yes, advantages such as the flakier texture of Sahelite earwax, or so I've heard. Nothing inspires pride in one species quite like speculative evolutionary biology. Perhaps we've had enough of that for today.
an interesting question. And the answer is yes, there are.
Of course. All fairy tales have someone or something invisible in them.
It's the Col de Mama d'Aqua. Its name means thin whisper of sound, and that's precisely what it is. Self-replicating sound waves, invisible and intangible. The Col de Mama is very afraid of us, which makes it incredibly difficult to track. Like nothing, it's such a high-pitched sound that us humans can't hear it, nor can other animals. It could be ringing right outside your window and you wouldn't even know it. Could be anywhere. Everywhere, even.
Fine, I'll bite. How can an animal be a sound?
Many scientists have asked the same question. Some have claimed that it isn't itself a sound, but a tiny corpuscle that emits sound waves. But there's no evidence to support this theory. Plenty. It's the evidence that led to its discovery. In the 1920s, a group of Areopagite ornithologists, that is, scientists who study birds, were trying out a new recording technology for capturing sounds outside the range of human hearing. When playing back recordings they had made in the foothills of the Ea mountain range, they noticed certain anomalies, patterns that seemed random at first, but on closer examination were consistent with the waveforms of songbirds. The scientists soon discovered they could track and even predict what appeared to be feeding, mating, and migration patterns based on sound waves in a strictly delimited range of ultrasonic frequencies, even higher than those of the highest-pitched bat calls.
She transforms, when speaking about these strange animals, into a confident woman.
They realized that they had discovered a new species and called it the Col de Mama d'Aqua, after the Paracanassian name for the voice of God, which is said to be very silent. They grew quite obsessed with these little birds. Even though they couldn't see them, they could distinguish among individual birds and even began to name some of them. Sequester, Time, Joscan, those are but some of the Mama d'Aqua they followed individually. That is a sad story. A group of university students assisting with the field work in their enthusiasm for the project, and no doubt because they were preoccupied with impressing their professors, nearly drove it to extinction. They tried to communicate with it and had no other means but sound, so they started sending out sound waves at frequencies they thought might match the Mama d'Aquas. And what happens when a sound wave meets another sound wave of the same frequency, dear?
This lady really should be a teacher. She's really good at the explaining things thing.
Exactly. And these tests were performed so recklessly that when they happened upon the right frequency, well, they wiped out most of the population.
Great regret washes over her, a wending cloth.
After that, the corpuscle appears to have migrated elsewhere. There have been recordings of anomalies similar to those spotted in Ea, but they've been few and far between. It's impossible to confirm the presence of any stable Col de Mama d'Aqua population anywhere.
Of course. A common thread in these. Disappearance and unfalsifiability. I like the story, though, ma'am.
I'm glad you did, dear. It could be. As I said, it could be everywhere. And we wouldn't know any better. It could be ringing all the days of our lives and nights.
Maybe it's predatory.
It's not. Don't worry. If it were predatory, we would have found it by the damage it inflicts.
I wouldn't be so sure. What if the damage is also invisible?
What about what? I'm glad you like them, but I'm not really one to tell you about all of them. You should ask my husband if you get the chance. He's the real expert.
I couldn't possibly shower thanks on you as enthusiastically as my wife has, but I am grateful for your assistance, officer.
He tries to play it cool, remain professorial, but inside, this man is itching for some news on those traps.
Good. Okay. End? Completely empty?
Surprise, tempered with fear and trepidation. He doesn't know what to think yet. Maybe you're joking?
No locusts? No phasmid either?
That's not ideal, but I definitely left that one stocked.
Right from the campsite? Just means the Insulindian phasmid is even more clever than we thought.
Of course, more clever.
You're dealing with a subject near and dear to their hearts. It might behove you to tread lightly.
Yes, the Phantasmadeia picked off the locusts and escaped. This is good news, though we'll have to reconsider the design of the traps, make them more secure.
Another trip to the reeds.
Of course. Be sarcastic. Unless you have an alternative hypothesis you'd like to venture, mine stands, okay? Actually, no. Excuse me for getting emotional. This is a big deal for us. You've helped us twice now, and brought some great news too. My gratitude, and the gratitude of the Société Cryptozoologique de Ravachol, is yours.
Heartfelt gratitude. But does it feel like closure? What really happened?
Thank you, it's an honor. We should probably return to our main investigation here. This has been refreshing, but...
Helping cryptozoologists isn't really a priority for our organization, is it? The lieutenant looks out the window, impatiently. Consider the way the empty trap was disturbed, as though shaken. Most likely the hands of a young person, hands small enough to fit inside the trap, too. You should ask the red-headed boy, Kuno.
A little hooligan. But what would a child want with bugs?
Oh, my dear Morel, you've been an old man for too long. Kids love to torment insects almost as much as they love to torment old folks.
Delinquents, my favorite.
Oh, you've been such a dear to us. Please let us know whatever you turn up. I have a feeling we're getting so close.
Well, I see you've got all the help you need. I'll see you tonight at my place. Let's play suzerainty, but no more field trips for me.
After this is your last chance to talk to Gary.
Really, Gary? We're getting somewhere here. I'd love to play suzerainty, but...
Lena, I'm sorry, but you're not getting anywhere. It was some kids. I know the little mutants around here. Leave anything out in the open and they'll steal it, even if it's bugs. Morel, it's been fun, really, but I need a bath and I have deliveries to handle. When this tea is done, I gotta run.
No need to apologise, Geary. You'd be more than helpful. We'll have to take a rain check on that game of Sue's Reinty today, though. We're gonna follow this through.
The first man to break formation is always a blow to leadership. This is bigger than he lets on.
Always a pleasure to see an officer of the law. I mean, officers.